I have been shocked by what I have seen in Belgrade, Serbia. Check this out. In fact, it has me questioning why I haven't come back sooner, because in full transparency, I came here quite some time ago and it was certainly nothing like this. So now we're going to delve deeper into why I came back, and most importantly, why you should probably come here as well. Alright, so first up, let's talk about one thing that is going to be a big question for a lot of you, and that is the cost of living or the prices. But to talk about that, you need to know they aren't on the euro, they are on the Serbian dinar. And it is about 100 Serbian dinars to $1 US. It's not a perfect equation because it fluctuates obviously, and it's actually a little bit more than that, but depending on when you're visiting, then obviously you can do a simple check to figure out what the conversion is. But this place has been a little bit more expensive. Well, I would say a lot more expensive than the first time I came here, but that's because it's been, I don't know, like almost a decade. Not quite a decade, but it's been a while since I have been here. But with that said, it is not too terribly expensive. So I think it is relatively good value for your money compared to most other places in Europe. Now, you're certainly not going to be paying Western European prices, but it's not going to be as affordable as, let's say, Albania or even probably a place like Romania. I would say, based on a very cursory overview, it's about on par with Budapest, maybe slightly more affordable. Probably, I would say, 10% difference in the prices. But with that said, check out what you are going to be able to get with your money, at least in the Belgrade waterfront area. Now, in the city center, or I shouldn't say city center, in the old town area where all the tourists stay, that is certainly not going to be this level of modern infrastructure. But obviously you might be looking for the old world vibes, and I would say it's not the most aesthetically pleasing place, but as it pertains to value for your money, you are getting absolutely excellent value. You can probably expect to pay around, I don't know, $12 to $15 for an entree at a sit-down restaurant, and then you have like late night kind of, or even not late night, but like, you know, kind of walk up places that serve Serbian food and Serbian burgers and stuff like that, and that's probably like $6.50, $7, $8 somewhere in there. And then coffee probably around $3 to $4 in the touristy area, keep in mind. We'll talk about food here in a moment, but the next thing I want to talk about is the internet, since we are in, you know, the area where there's quite a few apartments and Airbnbs and things like that. And I was getting about 150 upload as well as 150 gigabyte download speeds. So pretty solid internet to be had here if you are a digital nomad. All right, so let's talk about walkability and maybe a little bit of food, because I just went to a Michelin restaurant. Not Michelin star, Michelin Bib Gourmand, which is high quality food for lowish price, I guess. Good value for money is the best way I can put it. So, walkability, as you can see, maybe it is slightly uphill in this area that I'm going, and going from the waterfront area to here is also slightly uphill, maybe a little bit more than slightly. But walkability is important because I like getting my 20, 25,000, 30,000 steps each and every day. So I do focus on being in walkable areas. And maybe you can see it is like slightly inclined up there, but that's not a big deal. Like in comparison to like Lisbon, where I have a home. Lisbon is a bit more, I guess, or no, is a bit less walkable because of how hilly it is. The thing is, I don't want to get like sweaty and out of breath and all that good stuff, especially if the weather is warm, by walking. So it's been rather warm here, but I'd been able to walk everywhere I've needed to go. Now, the walk from the waterfront to like Dokal or Dorkol or something like that, maybe I'll throw up a map here, is a bit long, but you crank out a lot of the steps in that period. So overall, I'd say it's probably like, I don't know, a 7 out of 10 walkability. But if you're in the waterfront area or in this area, check this out. It's like a mini Shibuya crossing in Japan, right? If you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you don't. But it's like not the most walkable, but it's not the least walkable either. You will have no problem if you are just walking around. Alright, so let's talk about the food here in Belgrade. Now, it's not the best place I've ever been for culinary experiences, if that's what you want to say. And it seems like most of the food is very meat-based. I mean, I can make a lot of jokes about that, but we aren't going to go down that route for this video. That said, in a non-suspect way, it seems like they do eat a lot of meat dishes here and a lot of fries and potatoes and stuff like that. But it is quite good. But like I said, it's not going to be like Bangkok where you have a bunch of international cuisine, a bunch of Michelin restaurants. They actually do have a couple Michelin restaurants here. But yeah, the food is super good. I would highly recommend it. And I'm actually walking by something I passed the other day. Check this out. You might be able to see that was lit on fire, which brings me to the next topic, and that is the fact of the protests here. So someone asked me, how are the protests in Belgrade, Joshua? And here's the thing. I actually was walking from the waterfront to where I'm walking right now, and I accidentally ran into the middle of the protest the other day, and I actually saw a bunch of those in the middle of the street, tipped over, blocking roads and all that good stuff. And I wouldn't say I felt unsafe, actually. In fact, I went up to a police officer and I was like, what's going on here? And they went, oh, it's a protest, blah, blah, blah. And okay, it is what it is. But I didn't feel any issues or anything like that. And I didn't feel unsafe. Although it is not like a comforting situation to be in, obviously. But I didn't feel unsafe or anything like that. They have a heavy police presence, shall I say. And I guess that's all I can really say on the topic, because I am not like an expert in Serbia or Belgrade. I do understand it was occurring in different areas. And yeah, I'm running out of breath because, as I talked about in the walkability portion, you can see this is quite the incline. But I didn't feel unsafe. I think you'll be okay. It didn't seem like there was a bunch of violence. But also, I wasn't like going in middle of the protest and filming, right? You have to have some level of awareness going on. So keep that in mind. And I will say, you will see quite a bit of this graffiti all over the place as well. So I don't know if you saw this behind me. Don't see as much in the waterfront district. And another thing is they do work on it, especially where I'm heading. They have people like pressure washing, trying to clean up the area. So take that for what it's worth. But as far as the protests, I would really do your own research before you come here, because it seems like it's a situation that is slowly escalating. Like, originally, I'm from Nebraska, but I moved to Portland and California. It's not that important. I was in Portland, and it's kind of the same trend. Like, it starts out as peaceful protests and shit like that. I mean, I probably shouldn't say that stuff on YouTube, but fuck it at this point. I don't really care. Starts as peaceful protests, but over time it slowly evolves into less peaceful territory. All right. So with that in mind, we're crossing. Let's go. So with that in mind, you need to be aware that it can go from peaceful to non-peaceful, as we've seen in other parts of the world. And I think this was actually the most non-peaceful in that regard. But as I understand, they're trying to get like snap elections to replace the current government. So if that happens or not, depending on when you're watching this video, that could change everything for you, right? And that's partially why I try and make these videos somewhat evergreen, where you can watch it at any time. But as far as feet on the ground, I had no problems or anything like that. And yeah, just act smartly. All right, so I think we've probably made it far enough in the video where most of the, let's say, lower quality folks probably aren't hanging around. But here's what I'm gonna say. We're talking about dating. And that is the fact that the Serbian women are absolutely beautiful. In fact, I was talking to a couple other guys here, and they were saying that this is the best place, the most high quality place they've been, including Russia. They would take this over anywhere else. And I gotta say, it has been quite the experience. And I wouldn't say they are entirely wrong. I am partial to Latinas myself, but the quality here is absolutely amazing. And I don't say that in like a disrespectful way or anything like that, because I'm not saying you should show up here and just like, you know, try and run through the city, because that probably wouldn't work for you, right? What I'm trying to say is, I think as a Westerner, you would have a better experience because the women tend to be more fit, more feminine, and they are approachable, friendly, and they speak English. But that assumes you are here long term, because it's not like a hookup type culture. And that's why I put it later on in the video for the people who are more serious about coming here long term, right? So if you're coming here long term and you plan on treating people respectfully and all that kind of good stuff that I shouldn't really have to qualify, and you're not like a passport bro, then I think you would absolutely love it here in Serbia. Now, if you're just coming here for a weekend jaunt, probably not going to have success. And the reason I say that, is because I saw people who are doing the Poland-Warsaw outside of Zloty Tarasi or whatever it's called, outside the main train station, day game bullshit stuff going on in this area, actually. Like right along here, they're doing their little day game shenanigans, and it's not getting them any traction. So that's why I say, if you're just passing through, probably not going to have the greatest success. But I have noticed, if you're actually spending time here, as I've been spending time here, I think it's been like 3 weeks now, or something like that, then that's when you can start building relationships and things like that, which is what I always recommend. Like, I don't think anyone should go somewhere to date women, period. That is, like, the last thing on my list. It's not even on my list, right? I think you should go places because you want to go there and enjoy them. And over the course of that experience, you're going to make friends, right? So that is what I recommend, but I have to put this in here because I've gotten questions. Yes, I see your comments. and I'm not going to leave you guys hanging, but that is not like the number one thing about my content. I want you guys to go to places that you think are interesting and cool for various different reasons, not just because of the dating or things like that. Now, I'm not stupid, and I know most of my audience is single dudes, so I know it's going to be a factor, but a lot of my other content focuses on raising your value to a level where you can successfully date anywhere. So it really shouldn't be a consideration whether you want to go to the United States or if you want to go to, I don't know, France or Germany or China. That should not be a problem because you're so high value that you're going to have success anywhere in the world. But I would be remiss if I did not tell you my honest, transparent thoughts that, man, if I didn't have Andrea and Latinas were not my number one and I was suddenly single all over again, this is probably a place I would spend a bit more time. All right, so I've gotten the question, how would you compare Belgrade and Budapest and Warsaw and maybe even Prague, but mainly Belgrade, Warsaw, and Budapest. And here's the thing, is Belgrade a place I would actually live? I'm not sure about that because the connectivity in Belgrade just isn't that great. And I'm just saying the flight connectivity. If you want to go to other places, you're going to be taking connections for the most part. And then my understanding is the train connectivity isn't that great as well, because I was thinking about doing the worst train ride, or it's like the most scenic, but it's a terrible train apparently, from Belgrade to Montenegro, just for the content, but I was like, I don't really want to do that. But when looking that up, you see the train connections and it pretty much connects to nowhere. As opposed to Budapest, you can take a high-speed train to almost anywhere, or Prague, or some of these other places. So it suffers in that category, but like outside of that, I really love Belgrade, and if it had a bit more connectivity, and also it's not like the most aesthetically pleasing, like architecturally, which probably doesn't matter to most of you, and it doesn't have the most history, which once again probably doesn't matter to most of you, is why it wouldn't necessarily be the highest on the list for me. But if it did make some improvements, I mean, I've talked about the beggars, that's another issue that I don't really enjoy. But if it improves some of those things, I would be really interested here. And obviously it can't really improve the architectural stuff because that is personal preference and things like that. And with the waterfront area, I can't really complain about that too much. But I would personally, if I had to choose, keep in mind, I'm not a single guy. I have essentially my wife, Andrea, right? So with her, I would be interested in Belgrade, but it doesn't have the connectivity that we would be looking for. So I would probably choose Budapest or Prague. Now, I will say it is officially higher than Warsaw on my list. No doubt about it. I've absolutely loved my time here. I do think Poland is better in some aspects. If I was a single dude, I would definitely, this, goes with the long rant I just went on before this, I would definitely choose Belgrade over pretty much any other place in the anywhere in the region, and almost anywhere in the world outside of Latin America. Once again, I am partial to my Latinas. Got to get those big booty Latinas, right? Okay, that's not appropriate for the video, but it is what it is. Who cares? Speaking of which, we do got some salsa or bachata in the background over here. So they know how to get down like your boy, okay? So, yeah. I would say, as a single dude, Belgrade would probably be my number one option. Although you definitely have some cons with the beggars, and you have a little bit lower infrastructure overall. Like the public transportation, probably not as good, although that doesn't affect me. I don't use public transportation, I just walk. But it's not as good as a place like Warsaw. It's not as modern. There's more beggars, and it's probably less aesthetically pleasing than a place like Budapest. So it kind of depends on your circumstances. Because in full transparency, with Andrea, I would choose Prague over most of these other places, including Warsaw and Budapest and all that good stuff. But this video is getting a little long and drawn out, so we're just going to wrap it up there. Long story short, they all have their pros and cons. Depends what you're looking for. But I will reiterate, if you want to have success anywhere in the world, dating or personally, right? It's not just about going somewhere to meet women, because I don't recommend doing that. Because you also need like guy friends too. And if you want to have guy friends, then I do think the people here are more open and friendly than some of the other places in the region as well. So focus on yourself. Focus on becoming the best possible version of yourself, and go where interests you. And right now, Belgrade interests me quite a bit. All right, peace. Right, so that's gonna wrap it up for this video. And this is actually the last video I am recording from Belgrade. I might go to Novi Sad, but otherwise, the next destination is Warsaw, and probably won't make any content there because I've already made content there before. But after that, I'm going to a place that I haven't made content from before, but I've made it there. So thank you to all the Serbian people. I absolutely love you, but this is my last Serbian video, so you guys can unsubscribe or stay subscribed if you want. But this is the last of my content on Serbia. I've greatly enjoyed it. Thank you for having me. I absolutely love and appreciate you guys. And I hope to be back here again soon with Andrea. If not, I hope some more people come to Serbia and enjoy everything you guys have to offer, because it is a massively underrated culture and group of people that I think a lot of my subscribers would absolutely love and enjoy. So with that said, once again, thank you, and I will see you guys again sometime in the undetermined future. Peace.